Our farmers are really reporting we're seeing a lot of farm bankruptcies, more in the first quarter of 2025 than all in 2024. And farmers are experiencing higher health costs, as your chart indicated. Our Iowa farmers are experiencing that as well.
We love our farmers. That's what Donald Trump keeps saying over and over. We love our farmers. Well, the farmers just responded and they said, and I'm quoting directly, "We are not feeling the love." That is an Iowa farmer in a deep red state, looking directly at the camera and telling the President of the United States that his tariffs are destroying their lives.
Has a $12 billion assistance package for farmers. You can call it a bailout, however you want to describe it. He was talking about how the money is out the door or getting out the door soon. As it relates to that, how much will that help where you are tonight?
Well, it's right to say that there's been big problems with our policies dealing with trade, and to try to compensate farmers who have been caught in a chaotic trade policy. So it will not cover all the losses farmers are feeling, and it certainly won't deal with those long-term trade relationships that have been damaged.
This week, Iowa farmers went public and called Trump's tariff policy a growing disaster. They said they're tired of being a pawn. They said they're tired of being sacrificed. These aren't Democrats from California. These aren't liberal activists from New York. These are cattle ranchers, corn growers, and soybean producers in Iowa, the heart of the mega country, and they are turning on Trump. And what makes this even worse is that Iowa's entire Republican House delegation just voted to keep Trump's tariff in place. Their own farmers are begging for help, and their own representatives voted against them. On Wednesday, February 18th, Iowa farmers held a public call and went off on Trump's trade policies. Barley Weber, a cattle, corn, and soybean producer in Tama County, said the tariffs are damaging export markets and raising costs for machinery, fertilizers, and other supplies. She called it a growing disaster on the ground in Iowa.
Our farmers are reporting that between higher costs and lower prices for what we grow, that they're having very difficult conversations with their bankers trying to figure out how to finance a crop put in the ground this spring. The number of calls to farmer hotlines are going up for farmers who are in real economic stress.
And here's what she's talking about. On February 6th, Trump signed an order allowing Argentina to send an additional 800,000. And here's what she's talking about. On February 6th, Trump signed an order allowing Argentina to send an additional 80,000 metric tons of beef into the United States. And he said it was to lower prices for consumers. But these farmers say all it does is undercut American cattle ranchers while boosting profits for the four giant meat packers that control 85% of the market: GBS, Cargill, Tyson, and National Beef. The same companies Trump himself asked the DOJ to investigate for price fixing back in November.
Yeah, we just have not seen the promises that have been made regarding finding a new era in trade relationships. We need to get to fairer trade for farmers, for workers that make a real difference, both on the factory floor and in our fields.
So let me get this straight. Trump tells farmers, "We love you." Then he slaps tariffs on their export so China stops buying. Then he lets Argentina flood the market with cheap beef. And then he asked the DOJ investigate the meat packers who are the only actually benefiting from all of this. Dude, pick a line. And it gets even worse. Last week, the House voted in on a resolution to block Trump's 25% tariff on Canadian goods. Canada is one of the largest buyers of American farm products. 6 Republicans crossed over and voted to reverse the tariff.
But we just haven't seen the impact of that yet. And it feels like we're farther away from getting to fair trade. In the meantime,
what would you want to tell the White House tonight, Aaron?
Yeah, we need to a trade policy that makes sense, right? That doesn't put farmers at the front lines of retaliation and we need to have something that is more consistent, right? We have real trade issues to deal with, but we're not getting to them.
But Iowa's entire Republican delegation, Hinson, Feinstrom, Miller, Meeks, and Nunn, voted to keep it. They voted to keep the tariff that is actually actively destroying their own state's farmers. Ryan Marquardt, a cattle producer and vice president of the Iowa Farmer Union, said it perfectly. As farmers, we're tired of being a pawn, and we're tired of being sacrificed. Tired of being sacrificed. There's a Republican farmer in Iowa talking about his own party. That should be a wake-up call for every single person in Washington. Now, let's talk about why these farmers are in crisis, because the numbers are absolutely devastating. American farmers are now facing their fourth consecutive year of expected losses. Fourth year. And it all traces back to one thing: Trump's tariffs and the trade war with China. Here's what happened. When Trump imposed tariffs on Chinese goods, China retaliated, and they just didn't raise prices on American soybeans. They stopped buying them entirely. From May through to October 2025, China did not commit a single US soybean purchase. Zero. The numbers are staggering, and US soybean exports to China dropped 78% in 1 year. And it's not just soybeans. China hasn't purchased any US corn, wheat, or sorghum in 2025 either. And here's the part that should terrify every American farmer while we're fighting a trade war with China. Brazil swooped in and stole the market. Before Trump's tariffs, the US held about 40% of China's soybean imports. Today, we're down to 20%. Brazil went from 50% to 70%. They added 30 million acres of soybeans. China is investing in Brazilian ports, roads, and railways. And 88% of agricultural economists surveyed say US exports to China will never return to pre-trade war levels. Never. Marquardt, the Iowa farmer, nailed it. He said China spent the years since basically buffering against something like this happening again, and they put themselves in a very good position to just set us aside and move on. That's what happened. China found a new supplier and they're never coming back. And what's happening on the ground is devastating. Let me show you the bankruptcy numbers. In 2025, 315 farm bankruptcies were filed nationwide. Arkansas leads the country with 33 filings, up 106% from the year before. Iowa had 18 fillings, up 220%, Wisconsin up 700%, Georgia up 145%, and the Midwest saw 121 fillings, up to 70%. And those numbers are probably worse than what's being reported. Dr. Lyon Lee from the University of Arkansas said any numbers he reports are likely understated because Chapter 12 bankruptcy takes time to file. Many farmers drowning in debt haven't shown up in the data yet. If you found the video informative, I'd be really appreciated if you can just sub to my channel, because I'll be doing more farmers and what is happening to our country because of one guy people mostly voted for and what our farmers going through. Thank you so much. Please comment down below and like the video too. Thank you.